And for the benefit of those of you watching the recording, I say welcome to you, as well as those that are joining us online this evening. The recording will be available. I'll put a link to some cloud service on our RAG group, and if you want to refer back to it later, then of course that will be possible. I would ask that you would try and keep your introductions to the 2.5 minutes, although I did say that if you're representing bear with me a minute, if you're representing a group, then we can allow an extra minute, I think, at this stage. I hope that by the end of the evening, we'll have a good feel for who's doing what. For some of us, there'll be some faces to names that we can apply, and there will be, I'm sure, initiatives that we can follow up in the future. Now, it's quite likely that we'll have a little bit of time at the end, depending on what time you want to go to bed, to have some questions. But I think it would be most appropriate if we didn't ask questions immediately after the presentation, because that's going to extend the time considerably with such a large group on a Zoom meeting. If you do have some comment or a question that there's just no opportunity tonight, then do post it on the excuse me, on the forum, and we can follow up at a later stage. I did put a note on my mail that went out about etiquette. Let's all be very respectful of each other and polite, as I'm sure we as I'm sure we would want to be. Right. I'm going to, as I said, run down the running order, starting with Albert White, if he's with us in a moment. And if it looks like we're getting through a bit quicker, I may pause at around about the 45-minute mark, and we'll have a bit of a general chat and maybe some questions. If you need to attract my attention, then do use the reactions icon and click the thumbs up or hand or something, and that will put you to the top of my participant list, and I'll cue you in. Mike, was that just a test, or do you want to say something? You're still mute. Okay, understood. Right. So without further ado, Albert, are you with us yet? If so, you can unmute and make a start. Albert is not with us, in which case we'll run to Andrew Lutley. Are you with us this evening?
Hello, Paul. Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you very much for setting this up. I've been involved with radio astronomy for about 14 years, drawn into it really because I just like making things. I'm a founder, member, trustee of the UK Radio Astronomy Association, but I'm not going to say anything about that this evening because Andrew Thomas, who I think follows me, is going to address that. I've got 3 main projects on the go at the moment, and I'll try to. I wanted to share a picture or two, but it says that host has disabled participant screen sharing. Oh, is that something you can? I
can undo that. Allow participants to screen share. It should be possible according to my screen here. Let me just turn it off and turn it back on again.
Yeah, it's got. Yeah, I can do it now.
Okay.
So I think. No, it's gone again. Well, I'll do it without pictures. I've got 3 main projects on the go at the moment. The first is an ADF 4351 based signal source. for hydrogen line and possibly other frequencies. That's led me into the design of filters and attenuators. And David Farne, who I think is on later, has provided me with some very useful help and encouragement on that project. It's showing some promising initial results, although there's still some way to go. The second is the Raspberry Pi data logger, and I think you, Paul, have done something similar to this. My one is designed to enable VLF and magnetometer data to be logged without me having to run a PC 24/7. The data logger, along with my VLF receivers, is currently in my radio astronomy lab, which my wife insists on calling the dining room. Those two projects are both UCRA initiatives. The third project, which Peter alluded to in the pre-meeting chat, is eCallisto. For those who aren't familiar with it, eCallisto is a solar spectrometer designed by Christian Monstein. And when I became interested in it about 10 years ago, the German supplier had run out of PCBs, and the Philips tuners, which form the heart of the spectrometer, were no longer available. Christian kindly made the PCB files available to me, and I had a batch of those run off, some of which you could have seen had the photo link been working. I also managed to find a box of about 150 Philips tuners somewhere in the Far East. So I managed to pick those up. So I've got quite a stack of PCBs, enclosures, components, tuners, and what have you. I completed the build of one eCallisto about 10 years ago, and then the project really stalled, largely because I was unsure what aerial to use. And there it rested until the activity on this forum a few days ago, when several people have expressed interest in it, and that's kind of re-energized me, and I've dug out my hardware and intend to complete it and actually get it up and running. If anyone else wants to sort of participate, then I'd be very interested in working with them on that. And that's it. That's my bit.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew Thomas. You need to unmute. Well done.
Yes, I've just worked that bit out. I think if I press that and I press that, I can bore you with slides. Has that worked?
Yes.
Okay. I was introduced to radio astronomy on the amateur side by Peter East, who got up at a conference I was attending and said, "I'm an amateur radio astronomer, I have a question." I buttonholed him in the bar and I thought, this is really interesting, and the rest is sort of history. I enjoy the observing, I think. I like making things, but I enjoy observing and participate with the VLF observing and the magnetometry with the BAA radio astronomy section and John Cook. eCallisto I had discovered, and that's what I want to have a bash at next. I think that's my next project. But my real purpose tonight is to say a few words about UCRA, of which I'm a trustee. For those of you who don't know about UCRA, and I suspect it's a very small group of you who don't know about us, we're a charitable, not-for-profit entity. We make equipment for people to be able to get into radio astronomy at an affordable cost. So we make VLF receivers and antennas, we make a magnetometer, and a couple of other bits and pieces of sort of accessories that go around that. We sell these things, and any surplus funds that are generated by that sale are used to plow back into making more equipment and developing new products. And you will hear a bit more about that later on in the evening. My real purpose, my ulterior motive for doing this, is we're being very successful. We're selling a reasonable quantity of equipment. We've been to Astrofest the last 2 years it occurred, and it pretty much cleaned us out of stock. So what I'm looking for, I'm making an appeal for people who may be interested, who like making things, to give me a call and have a go. We're looking for almost anybody who can do good quality work, I have to say, because we take a bit of pride in the quality of the products we turn out. But making antennas, somebody who can do really good quality, precise woodwork, because we make kits, and all the bits have to be interchangeable. Machining and mechanical assembly of enclosures, soldering up PCBs. Anyone who can do surface mount would be particularly welcome, especially if they enjoy doing surface mount components. Software development. Andrew's mentioned that he's working on a data logger. Andrew would make, I think, no bones to be a professional software developer any more than I would. We need a bit of help here. Circuit design for new circuit boards, things like website support. We need some help with that, simply because it takes a lot of time to do, and there's only a little gang of us at the moment. So that's why I came. Anybody who's interested, info@ucra.com or post on the BAA RAG site. I'll be in touch. Thank you, Paul. That's me done. I'm not quite sure how to get out of this. Stop sharing.
Stop sharing at the top.
Voila.
Thank you, Andrew. Brian, is Brian with us? Brian Coleman?
Yes, indeed I am.
You have your 2.5 minutes, sir.
Right, I'm going to try and share a screen. What could possibly go wrong? Do you have a screen?
Not yours. Have you got multiple monitors?
Yes, I have. It's on screen 1. No?
Nope, sorry.
Okay, you better unshare me then. I don't know how you do that.
The screen share is for all participants. I'll turn it off and turn it back on again and see if that. Try now.
Okay, well, I've got my screen up, but I've got no button to unshare it.
Well, you haven't shared yet. I think it'll come up once you share.
Right. Okay. I've unshared. I'll just talk my way through it. Main interests here are in hydrogen line astronomy using my 3.7 meter antenna, which I also use for EME on 9 SEMS, 6 SEMS, 3 SEMS, and on 24 gigs. You may recall that a few years ago, a group of us formed the Hydrogen Line Observing Group, and we made a series of observations, probably about 200 to 300 pixels, looking along the plane of the galaxy, and produced some graphic results, which obviously I can't show you, of the structure of the galaxy, which was all rather interesting. But it was all done with rather ancient technology, and it would be interesting in the future to move on to using SDR type techniques instead of the steam-powered radio techniques, which I've used in the past, also to improve on the graphics work that we've done, and perhaps enlarge on the remote access. We did provide remote access to the telescope, and it was controlled by participants as far away as South America when we were doing the observations, which was all good fun. And finally, I think, as I've got no graphics here, the other thing I did mention on the chat some time ago that I have 2 spare feeds here for the hydrogen line, a QMAR, the choke ring type feed for the shorter focal length dishes, and a dual mode feed, both made by me, and they are available if somebody can convince me that they're actually going to use them rather than leave them gathering dust here. I think that's about it.
Thank you very much, Brian. Ched, is Ched with us? No, Colin. Colin Gordon.
Colin Godian, yes. Hi, thanks.
Godian.
Thanks very much for the invitation to the meeting. Yes, I'm a member of Bridgend Astronomical Society. I've studied astronomy at university, but I've never got into the radio observation side. So that's what, yeah, I'm interested in: solar, hydrogen line, Jupiter, VLF, construction of equipment, getting it all to work, testing it, and observations. And yes, data logging would be interesting as well. Yeah, so I wanted to join the meeting to sort of get an idea of what people are doing and what equipment's available.
Okay. Thank you, Colin. David Farne, I saw you earlier.
Hi there. I'd just share my screen as well if I can. That didn't work. Help. I've never done screen sharing before. It looks, I just brings up a, oh, disabled.
Now it should be enabled. Try it again.
It's,
Yeah.
oh, that stands a chance. Hold on a moment. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. And the unfortunately puts the, there we go, it puts the logo right at the top over the control I wanted to use. There we go, from the beginning. There we go. Okay, I'm David Farne. Been a member of RAG since 2005 or 6 or something, when it just after it restarted. I'm a radio engineer by background, and I was part of the, well, I suppose still am part of the Radio Astronomy Group development group for RAG. I'm also amateur radio operator G4HRY. Does anybody remember Starbase? Well, there was something that is a leftover from Starbase, which is we've managed to use. I'm still using Staribus, which is the serial data protocol, and all the instruments I design still use Staribus, but I don't use Starbase. I usually talk to them with a Python GUI, which gives better control, I believe. Now, Staribus was just for the Radio Astronomy Group, but it's actually leaked out. Staribus is now working at Diamond Light. It's also working at Brookhaven in the United States and at PSI Switzerland, large synchrotrons, and it's being used in scientific cameras. So that's something I managed to sneak in. It's also going into space with an OGA, a sounding rocket, NASA sounding rocket, on a project called OGA, which is for an X-ray spectrometer. The only instruments I'm actually running at the moment is a small cosmic ray detector, and that uses 2 stacked planes of Russian Geiger tubes with a coincidence detector for the 2 planes, and it seems to reject all the background radiation very well. I download the dogging data each month, and most months look boring, with sort of about a background of 5 events in a 10-second sample. But just now and again, I get a sudden burst, and you see there's 80, 90, 100 in a spike. And that data is for the whole month. But if you zoom in, you can see that it was an event that was over quite a short period, a few minutes, and it was 2 peaks. I'm looking into why that is. It looks like it's interplanetary magnetic field events when they gets wrapped up and then breaks and reconnects and things, and it lets some solar cosmic rays through. So that's one thing I'm working on. In 2020, in the lockdown, I was put on furlough, and then I found out about that the BBC needed a hydrogen line radio telescope for filming. So I spent most of the summer building this radio telescope. It wasn't straightforward. It sounds easy, but it was a lot of constraints on bits and pieces. So anyway, it took quite a while, got it going, worked very well. In September, I took it up to Skye and we did the filming. So that's a radio telescope on the shores of a loch on Skye. And that's the BBC recording. Hopefully you'll see that a bit later in the year, this year, on the TV. That's I've asked for the in the credits to be with the BAA Radio Astronomy Group, Whether that will happen, who knows? I don't know. Okay, cheers. Let's, how can I get out of this? And getting back to where I was in another matter. And
top of your screen, I think it says stop sharing.
Stop sharing, you got it. Thank you. There you go. Cheers.
Oh, well, that's great, David. I think we'll book you in for an evening at some point to expand on all of that. Diane Clarke. I think you're mute.
Bloody technology. Is that better?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, good. Thank you for the invite. Good evening, all. I'm from the Crayford Manor House Astronomical Society, now based in Dartford. Main reason for coming along is we are looking to get SID going and do some VLF detection. So I came along to see what's happening, maybe get some advice on the fact that if you use Spectrum Lab, you get a CSV file, how to look at the CSV file to actually see if you've got any flare receptions, etc. And of course, how to set the equipment up the best way to use it. Would it be best to use a PC and Spectrum Lab or go for a dedicated receiver, etc. So as they want somebody to lead it, I might be the one who's doing it. So thank you all.
Yeah, thanks, Diane. That sounds like a topic for another evening, maybe a workshop where many of the more experienced can share their thoughts on this. Yeah, thanks, Diane. Elliot, is Elliot with us?
Yes, hello there. I'm Elliot Hall. I've been an astronomer for many, many years, but only actually in like an optical sense, and I sort of realised I was missing out actually on a vast part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So what I'm interested in, I actually, as an absolute like beginner, actually is everything to do with like this and what like projects I could pick up. I'm also a BAA counsellor for like my like SINs as well. And I happen like to work at Diamond Light Source actually as a software engineer. So I've been very interested to hear how actually Staribus is, because I'm actually in the data acquisition group. So I'm very interested in all bits of data that we do acquire somehow. So I'm looking like forward to hearing more more about like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Elliot. Ian, are you with us, Ian? Ian Williams? Jean-Louis.
Too late.
Oh, Ian's with us. Yes, great, Ian. Go ahead. Sorry. The floor's yours, Ian. I can't hear you. You're mute.
Ian's muted.
It's all right, my internet froze for some reason right then. God knows why, but there you go. Crikey, already we've had so many talks of outstanding abilities with software and radio engineering and everything else, so I'm quite impressed. Myself, I'm an amateur observer. I'm basically interested in the discoveries of the world's major radio observatories, and due to the suburban areas we live in, we don't get much to do here, but my passions mainly lie with electronics and radio. I get involved in projects with recording VLF signals such as SIDS, and natural radio emissions is something I'm quite interested in at the moment, but the science and detection of meteor trails is something I'll be doing for quite a while. The projects that I'm doing mainly, I'm trying to get more down the Raspberry Pi avenue for data logging and learning MicroPython, amongst other things. I've tried with C++ and it's just going in there and out the other, but as I say, building electronic projects, I think like low noise amplifiers and bandpass filters. I like building antennas and mucking about with that. Built a receiver for Jovian radio emissions. I think that was from an electronics Practical Electronics magazine years ago, but I dug it out and built it, and it worked. It still works well. So yes, space weather in general, really, anything sort of I can have a plug and play with. I enjoy the assembly, construction. I've got limited surface mount capabilities now with the hot air reflow and whatever. It's just my hands are too shaky these days. But yeah, that's basically my, that's where I stand within this group. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ian. Jean-Louis, are you with us? Okay, let's move on. John Berman. No. John Tane.
Ah, sorry, couldn't find the mute button.
John Berman. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. You'd think after a year at home working remotely, I'd know where the mute button was, wouldn't you? But apparently I don't. Good evening all, welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I did produce a nice long presentation, but I've only got 120 seconds, so I'm going to condense it into 120 seconds. So if you bear with me while I share my screen, 2 seconds. Oh, can I share my screen? Here we go. And share. So hopefully you can see that on the screen.
Yes.
Oops, I went way too far. So let's just go back to the top. So my primary area of interest is the detection of meteors by radio. This is something I started 2016, and after doing it literally for a couple of months, my first question was, oh, did somebody else get that? Oh, did somebody else get that? So I created a database. And like-minded people could look on this database, that was the original idea, and see if we captured the same events. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that was the general approach. So skipping through quickly, oops, sorry. So we're now into our 4th year. We've got about 5.7 million events recorded and some 9,500 screen catchers from Spectrum Lab. And within a reasonable amount of success, we can now put our data in each month, and we can say, actually, these captures are like, we call them coincidences, they are likely to be the same event. And then if we're happy that they're the same event, we can mark them as such. Moving forward, because I've only got 120 seconds, we're now looking at how we can potentially match radio meteor events with video events. This is our latest foray. So we're quite good at radio matching. Now we're looking to see how we can match radio and video. And if I whiz all the way down to the end of it, I will share this presentation afterwards if people want to have a look. This is where we are now. So we welcome more contributors. Thoughts on what analysis we can possibly undertake with our current radio data, in addition to the analysis that we already do, but I've not had time to explain. And thoughts on what we can do with our video radio matches. What information may we gain? And obviously the general one, where can we take this project moving forward? Sorry it was so short, but if we do another one of these, I'll do a longer presentation in more depth. And thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, John. I'm sure there'll be another opportunity for you to unpack some of that in a little more detail. John Tane.
Yeah, good evening, Paul, and everyone else tonight. Very fascinating so far. Well done, everyone. As you can see, I'm a UCRA trustee member along with Andrew and Norman, who's coming on later. My primary role has been an amateur in Hertford here, and it was radio astronomy experts who gave talks that kind of encouraged me to look further. I was fascinated. So I got a book from UCRA, and from there on met the guys and became one of the members of the team. I had 28 years in education, so from that point of view, I'm very keen to spread the word across the all age groups, because our club has got a very cross section of ages, which is fantastic for future. So obviously future-proofing the knowledge and the enthusiasm. I mainly work in promotions as much as anything, having worked at Stansted Airport for 14 years after teaching for 28. I've had a cross-section of career moves and interests.
But the main thing is Astrofest. We went to Astrofest. I organised getting us there for the last 2 years prior to the pandemic. Sadly, last year I got the virus of some sort, not that much it's the one we'll talk about now, but I missed last year's. But it was great to meet people and get people enthused about what we do, what we can offer, and encourage people. Our team is very supportive, and we like to think of that as a main selling point for what we do. It is to encourage amateurs, professionals alike, and education institutions, be it schools or universities. I also like to mention that Andrew Thomas, who spoke earlier, we are looking post-pandemic unlocking. We're going to make some videos of the equipment we produce, how it works, what it can be used for in demonstration, and also how to tune aerials and the like, and so any fault, Q&A situation where people ask questions, how do I do this? And it's really to encourage more people to get interested in what we do. But I won't keep you too long because there's a lot of people here. But just to say, great team, like what this group's doing. John Cook and Paul, thank you for setting this Zoom meeting up today. It's been fascinating, and I'm looking forward to hearing from other people. Thank you, Paul, indeed.
Thanks very much, John. Jose de Almeida, are you with us?
You need to unmute him, Paul.
Yes,
Jose.
I think so.
Good.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Greetings from Cascais, Portugal, and it's a pleasure to be with you here. I'm Jose. I'm a CT4AM too, and I made radio astronomy for more than 40 years. And I began connected to Radio Astronomy Group in 2005, the time of Lawrence Newell and Karen Holland, I think. But not enough spare time at the moment for radio astronomy. My research has been on hydrogen line and listening to DSN spacecrafts too, making optical astronomy and astrophoto. I'm not a member of British Astronomical Association, so thanks, Paul. I have contacted him 2 months ago, I think, to have the pleasure to be connected to the British Radio Astronomy Group again. I'm a PhD on applied physics, 68 years old, and working on aerospace agency. And by the way, I'm a member of the EMC committee of International Matter Radio Union Region 1. I made some observations on 1,420 megahertz, 21 centimeters line, and 2.6 gigahertz for solar observations. At the moment, I think I'll be moving with all my equipment to a quieted place because I'm near Lisbon, 25 kilometers far from Lisbon in Cascais, and now we have lots of pollution, radioelectric pollution. So for radio astronomy, it's not a very good place at the moment. So I think that's all. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be with you, and it's a pleasure.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Jose. Mark, is Mark with us? I couldn't get your family name.
Okay. Yes, my name is José de Almeida, José Francisco de Almeida.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. I was looking for the next speaker.
Thank you.
Mark Horn, are you with us tonight? Melvin Jones. Ned Cartwright.
Yeah, I suppose I'll send it back in the room. Shut that out.
Yeah, Ned Cartwright, I think.
Yes, hello. Sorry, I just a bit confused with what was going on. Yes,
Yes, we do.
anyway, good evening. Thank you very much for being able to sit in on this. There's not a lot I can say. I'm an armchair radio astronomer with ambitions, particularly to set up an antenna doing 21 centimeter work. I'm a member of the Ipswich Astronomical Society, the Orwell Astronomical Society, and I'm a licensed radio amateur. So I'm an armchair chap, keeps looks at what's going on, and it's been really interesting to hear what people are doing, and I've made a lot of interesting notes. So thank you very much indeed, and that's all I have to contribute at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ned. Nick Tonkin. Yeah, is not with us. Norman Pomfret. Andrew, I think you've got a presentation on behalf of Norman, is that right? You're mute.
You should be seeing a slide and Norman should be going to speak.
We can see the slide.
I know he's out there somewhere because I've heard his voice earlier on.
Is he pressing the space bar?
He's dropped off my list of participants.
I think yeah, I can't find him. Okay, well, I will have to do his presentation. I will attempt to be brief. Norman and Lawrence Newell are working on a Schumann resonance reception system. For those who don't know, Schumann resonance is a phenomenon generated by the totality of lightning in the Earth's atmosphere. It generates sort of resonant fields trapped between the Earth and the ionosphere at very, very low frequencies. The first mode, it's not a fundamental, it's a first mode, it's at 8 Hertz. It's an incredibly weak signal. They have a figure on this slide of 2 picoteslas. I can't even put a mental picture around that, but it's not a lot. And when you look at the noise, it's about 1 picotesla. You do get the idea that you're looking for a very small signal in an awful lot of noise. Anyhow, they pressed on with this project. The first step, and some of you here may have heard Norman speak about this at the last physical BAA RAG meeting, was to construct an antenna. This is a picture of the very much work in progress. A large bar of ferrite, which I think is encased in this aluminium tube, coils, lots of coils, 100,000 turns of wire, and all enclosed in a Faraday screened, inside a metallic screened. I think it's a piece of water pipe. Anyhow, the antenna has been made. The next stages were to make the electronics that goes with it and put the whole thing together into a system. This slide is updated yesterday to show where they've got to with this project. And in the last few weeks, an awful lot of this has gone yellow. The yellow box is indicating that things are prototyped, and that is at that meaning now that they are at the point where they're working, they're tested, and now the project is looking for a sunny day and a very electrically quiet location to go out and see what they can see. So the key elements to this are the aerial, a low noise, high gain amplifier, a remote device to receive that signal and turn it into something that computers can deal with. So the first part, the low noise amplifier, I won't go through this in detail, or we will be here all night, but just to say that this is an amplifier with up to 150 dB of gain and an extremely low noise figure. It is an impressive piece of equipment. And although this is an animation, a mock-up of it, and done as a digital picture, it exists, it's real, it looks like that. Some meters away, to keep all mains powered equipment as far away as possible from the aerial, there's a line receiver. It uses balanced line techniques to reduce the pickup. The enemy of Schumann resonance reception is 50 Hertz mains hum. If anybody is joining us from the United States or the American continent or Saudi Arabia, 60 Hertz mains hum. So again, the design of this is there's all the signal processing and space is provided on the back for a Raspberry Pi or a BeagleBone to do the signal processing and take the analog signals and process it through. To test it, again, they've built their own test equipment, a balanced noise source, which is a very, very handy way to test the system right through from aerial connection right through to reception. The bit they would like me to stress is that possibly an unusual feature or possibly unique feature is that the signals are coming out of the Raspberry Pi at this point as a data stream feeding into GNU radio. And I hold my hand up at this point and say the technicalities at this point escape me completely. But I stand very, very impressed by the hardware that's been made. The next steps, as I've said, is they want to get it out into a very large open space, a long way from any power lines, and test it. The results of that are eagerly awaited. It's an impressive piece of kit, and I think the intention, when they started work on it, was to see if there was interest in Schumann line observing, which there does certainly seem to be in the academic world. I've even come across papers saying they're looking at, can you get correlation interference from Schumann resonance on Virgo and LIGO? So there's interest out there, and there are academic papers and conferences. We have they have a very impressive, very low noise amplifier. And if anybody is interested in following this project, please give either Lawrence Newell, Norman, or myself a call, and I'd be delighted to talk to you about it. That's where I think I'll stop, because people might ask me questions I can't answer. Thank you very much.
Well done, Andrew. I think Norman will be proud of you. Right, next is me, and I'll just see if screen share will. Did that work?
Yes.
Ah, okay, good. Right, my own current projects are geomagnetism using the UCRA board, SID using the E-field antenna, again from UCRA, and I've just started muon counting, looking at cosmic rays. I've got a single channel working at the moment, but I too plan to have a multi-channel system working for coincidence detection. I'm doing a little bit of forward scatter meteor detection, and that I've just started up again only in the last few weeks. And I have to say, all of these projects, I have many open questions because this is all pretty new to me. So I'm looking forward to future evenings where I can ask those with a bit more experience some questions. Future developments, I too are very interested in correlating all the solar event data streams that I have, particularly to see how on a time domain they relate to one another. I'm using VBA on the Excel platform to process data from the microcontroller. I too become interested in eCallisto recently, and I'm hoping to move ahead with a collaboration. I do have a 1 meter satellite dish that I had removed from our motorhome because I thought it would be more useful in out here in my lab. The project started really as a test bed for me to learn how to drive it and ultimately get a feed horn and build some electronics. That's at an early stage, but ultimately that's where I want to go, if I can find a big dish. And Cosmic Watch I'm quite interested in because that ties in with the muon count experiments that I'm doing, although I'm not sure how active that is just at the moment. Right. I've just got a few comments about future initiatives that can be followed up, probably not tonight, but on the bulletin board, and I'll try and collate this going forward. I'd be very interested and very keen to see a RAG forum. I was encouraged by Paul Hyde's comments on the bulletin board yesterday, I think it was, or maybe even this morning. Maybe once a month, and Paul suggested exactly as I was thinking, that maybe initially every fortnight, where we could have a bit more detailed presentation with question and answers in the first half, and then have what I've called a poster session, where we give 10, maybe 15 minutes for members to present current research or ask half complicated questions that might get a bit more of a time given for the answers. I think a training workshop could also be very useful. I've had quite a steep learning curve trying to get to grips with Spectrum Lab, and I've had some help again from Paul, actually, Paul Hyde. But I think it's a piece of software that's very powerful, but quite difficult to get started with, I think. So that's just an example, but there are many more areas where new people with very little experience or knowledge like me can gain from what is increasingly, in my mind, a vast pool of knowledge and expertise within the group. I've been massively impressed, I have to say. And then maybe a mentoring scheme where one-to-one, more in-depth training, maybe Saturday afternoon, 2 people could get together, probably on Zoom, just to work through the specifics of an individual's problems and questions with somebody with a bit more experience. John Cook does an excellent job issuing the bulletin every month. And I just wonder, judging by the range of projects and data and observations that people are making, whether that could be expanded, whether the bulletin could be expanded, particularly with some images. And then RAG 21, a day conference. I mean, I've said October there, but it doesn't have to be, of course. And the question is virtual or real, or both, virtual this year, real next year, who knows? But I'd be interested in comments on that. Maybe they could be posted, or we could talk a little later. But I think the program should be set up by those with a lot more experience than I to review the agenda and the program. Okay, that's all that I have. Let me just see if I can stop sharing. And I just need to find out who's speaking. Oh, it's Paul Hyde. Paul, do you want to say anything? It's your slot.
Okay, thank you. Having a bit of a problem with the local internet here, so I've had to move down. Hope the audio's all right.
Only just.
But thank you very much. Sorry?
Your audio is only just all right at this end.
Any better?
Oh, yes.
Right, okay. From one part of the building site to another. Okay then. So, yeah, thank you very much. Just quickly going through my notes. Paul, if you want to put me in contact directly with Diane Clarke, I'd be very happy to help if I can with her spectrum line, spectrum lab and VLF stuff. That's an area that I've been sort of involved with for the past, well, getting on for 14 years now. VLF observing. I've been out of the loop really for the last few years, various things going on, but getting to the end of this building project, so it would be a good time to get back involved, get involved again. So future tasks, I've got about half a dozen projects which were sort of put into bins, plastic bins a few years back. So improving the VLF kits, installing the magnetometer that I've got, or reinstalling it, meteor scatter I'd be interested in, hydrogen line, etc., solar radio and all that sort of stuff. I think this is going to be an excellent resource, this video, Paul. There's going to be a huge amount of cross-linking to be done. Cross-fertilization is probably a better word. So I think it's really quite exciting. So I hope that can be pushed ahead with, and well, I'll just leave it from that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. Peter Hobson, are you with us? Yes.
Yes, I am, and good evening, everyone. I'm an experimental particle physicist. I lead a fairly large physics and astronomy department in UK university. I have an amateur interest in radio astronomy. I have experience in some aspects of optical astronomy with the development of star trackers for NASA, Juno probe, for example, not the one that was actually flown, but for prototypes. And I've done a little bit of work on meteor scatter using the Grave source in the south of France. And I guess I'm particularly interested in what might be done, and I'm thinking primarily perhaps of my university site, which is in the center of a large city, what might be done in terms of radio astronomy from a moderately noisy site. So it's interesting, obviously, yes, I'm well aware that as in many aspects of astronomy, you want a site which is 1 million miles away from any power source, light source, etc., etc. But for many of my students, and we have a fairly large astronomy astrophysics group, they'd be, I think, really interested to do some serious radio astronomy, but bearing in mind that the site would be in the middle of a major city in the UK. So I think that's probably enough from me, just to say what my interests are, and both personal and, if you like, professional.
Thank you very much, Peter. Peter East, are you with us? Yes, I can see that you are with us.
Yes, yeah, I'm here. Okay, thanks. Great thing you're doing, Paul. I'm really pleased that you've set this up, and it's going great, I can see. My interest is in the detection of pulsars with limited aperture resources and garden resources as well. I can't get a big dish in there. The strongest pulsar in the Northern Hemisphere is the BO329 plus 54, and it's high in the sky and it's in a good position for us. So
why choose the weakest of all sources, pulsars. A 3-hour integration with my antennas gives me an equivalent temperature of about 0.05 of a degree. My day job was radar intercept, so pulsars and radars have got quite a lot in common, so that's what attracted me to them. I built a twin Yagi 2.5 meter antenna at 611 megs, and that's it behind me, and use the RTL or the AirSpy software-defined radios, and I've collected a mass of data for analysis. And most of my work has been in writing software for both Windows and Linux to extract and identify these very weak pulsar responses in amongst the noise and radio frequency interference. To the previous speaker, a town is no good for looking at pulsars, but the hydrogen line might be a bit better. So what I'm looking at is trying to identify a pulsar at a very low signal to noise ratio, around about 4:1. It's not very good for using statistical techniques at this level. Yeah, you've really got to use analytical techniques. I've written a lot of papers on this topic, and a lot of them have been published in the SARA journal. I used to publish in the magazine, but unfortunately that stopped. But I do have an active radio astronomy website where I publish all my information, both the written information and the software. And if you want to search for it, it's my car registration number, Y1PWE. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Peter. I can see an evening coming on where we'll ask you to expand on some of this.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Great. You can stop sharing now, ready for Peter Wright.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, I'm Peter from the European Radio Astronomy Club. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Good. And through Brexit, I had to shut up shop in Germany, tried to move back to the UK, didn't work, so I've landed in Thailand. So radio astronomy activity at the moment is a bit on the back shelf. I'm a university lecturer at some of the major universities here in Bangkok. And what I'm doing at the moment has got nothing to do with radio astronomy, but I'm in the background, I'm preparing them to start doing radio astronomy in our university and also at a radio quiet site outside Bangkok. I'm obviously interested in the future working with you guys with a type of VLBI. So we can get together and we can do some joint observations. An interesting thing from VLF observations, I get a good signal here in Bangkok on 24 kilohertz from Cutler in the United States. So that is very, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to go through a few of the points that you guys have brought just to give some feedback. Paul, congratulations, good meeting. Thank you for doing the organization. UKRRA group, congratulations, you guys are doing some great stuff, especially the kits that you're offering. They're really, really good. Okay, eCallisto. Everyone's putting up eCallisto, a little motivation for you guys. We need to have stations with up converters and down converters to cover more frequencies than the TV tuner can. Okay, radio astronomy from the city. Look up a book from Richard Lonk. This is a guy who did radio astronomy from the top of his university in the middle of a city, Richard Locke. Very, very good book, interesting information. Next thing, pulsars. Hey, I was doing that 15 years ago using a long Yagi for television reception for 625 megahertz with a preamplifier, firing at the crab with nothing other than a stand for a camera to point in the right direction, and I turned the contrast down on a black and white television set, and you saw the diagonal line on the screen. You turn it down until the snow disappears, and you've only got the diagonal line, and you can observe the crab. Move the antenna, crab disappears. Move it back again, crab comes back again. So really simple stuff to observe the crab. Yeah, that's basically it. Great that I've got you guys on the blower today. Here in Bangkok, I'm a little bit removed from radio astronomy in Europe. I've still got contact to all the members of the European Radio Astronomy Club, and we're doing some great stuff there as well. But unfortunately, I'm sitting here in Southeast Asia. So thanks very much for the meeting. Great stuff. Thanks very much, Paul. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Phil Norton.
Hi, I'm here. Quick briefing. I mean, a few of you know me. I started doing radio meteors back in the 70s with a TV transmitter from Hungary, just listening to the pings. 40 years later, with a career in radar and radar components and things like that, I retired, went back into radio meteors again. I've got 2 FunCube dongles running 24/7. One of the aerials basically covers from west, overhead and east. The other one goes from overhead, pointing southeast towards Graves. John Berman gets all the information every month. So he's, I actually owe him some pictures at the moment because he contacted me the other day. I've also got, well, last year we moved. I had a SID system that worked quite nicely, which seems to have a bit higher baseband noise here. I've yet to get that up and running again. I took apart a quad hydrogen line quad Yagi. That's yet to be put back together again. And they're really the sort of projects I'm interested in at the moment. But unfortunately, my mother died last year, and so getting rid of her bungalow is top priority. So everything else is having to sort of wait. That'll do me for now.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much, Philip. Ronan, I don't think he's joined us, in fact. Is that right? Yeah. Rupert Powell.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello. Hello, everybody. Long time no see. Some of you probably have remember that I'm at York Astro Society, and we have an observing site outside of York, which is up near Massam on the edge of the Dales there. And in fact, I'm going to share one image. I'm going to do a long presentation or anything. I shall just share my screen, and I'll show you this. That's there we go. That's an image of where the actual site is. So it's on a very nice dark site. In fact, Diane should, as a member of Crayford Manor Astronomical Society, should recognise the telescope that's in there, because that's the John Wall 24-inch telescope, which we basically was donated to us when they moved their astronomy. In fact, the dome was theirs as well. So that came up from Dartford, and we built a complete astronomy. You can't actually see it in that photograph, obviously it's taken at night, but there's a full classroom and an astronomy centre which we set up for doing outreach for children from mostly from children from Bradford and Leeds and places that don't have dark skies. So they come out. We have evenings, not at the moment, but we do evenings for scouts, brownies, schools and all sorts of other things. But we also, York Astronomical Society members use it too. We've got the a hydrogen line telescope, which was donated to us by Leeds University. It's an old MIT small radio telescope, and it's actually out of commission at the moment. This was taken a while back, and actually it doesn't actually have a feed horn on there, you'll notice, but it's out of commission at the moment because we're putting a new feed horn on and redoing all the electronics, because although it sort of worked when we first got it set up, the performance has never been fantastic, but we're hoping to improve that, and we've moved over to an RTL SDR and some new amplifiers and such like. We are also building sorry, I've lost my words. We're also building a planetarium up at the site as well. So one of the old barns, it was originally a farm, we've built a planetarium. In fact, we've just built I think it's 8.5 or 9 meter domed planetarium. So we should be good for all eventualities, come clear sky, rain, and even during the day with the radio telescope. But the idea is to provide radio telescope facilities for the York Astronomical Society members, and we have actually had some good successes with that. And in fact, one of the younger members has gone on to do a physics degree at Manchester University, and she's now just got on a PhD course at doing a PhD at Jodrell Bank. So it really has been a good foundation for some of the members. One of the things that I'm just going to stop sharing that now. One of the things that there's the stop share button. Do that stop video. I don't want that one. Hang on a minute. How do you stop sharing? That's strange. Doesn't seem to want me to stop sharing. Oh, there it is. Big red, massive big red button that says stop sharing. How do you miss that? Yeah, I'll just finish off by saying that for my day job, I actually teach Python programming. So one of the things that I'd quite like to help out with, and it's something that Paul said about doing workshops, is that if anybody's interested in, programming, like that's the new Raspberry Pi Pico, which has got MicroPython running on it, which some of you have already expressed an interest in. So this is a great little chap. I'm having great fun with it already, but I've done loads and loads of stuff on Raspberry Pis and such like. But if anybody is interested in doing sort of an introductory course in Python, I would be quite happy to teach something like that. So that's something for Paul to make a note of. That's it. That's me.
Thanks very much, Rupert. I've made a note that you're a Python expert.
Wouldn't go so far as expert, but yeah, I know a bit more than some people. So yeah,
a bit more than me, I'm sure. Okay, I'm going to skip Simon for the moment. He may join us a little later. Wayne Johnson.
Hi everybody, how is it doing?
Hi.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about playing with the old Radio Astronomy. I'm actually sitting in my observatory in the back garden, which is a bit of a building site at the minute because my son's decided to sort out the garage and he's filled up my observatory. So I mean, I'm a member of the BAA, a friend of the Royal Astronomical Society, and I've been mucking around with telescopes for about 4 or 5 years. Originally had a telescope when I was a kid, but living in North London, light pollution and all that rubbish. Unfortunately, where I am now, they've just installed white LEDs, and it's caused a lot of problems. But so I'm really interested in getting involved in the radio astronomy because the light pollution is getting too bad where I am at the moment. So I'll leave it there, and thank you for letting me talk.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Wayne. Wolfgang, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me share my screen.
Wolfgang, don't feel constrained to 2.5 minutes because I'm sure you've got some very interesting things to share, and time has gone better than I expected.
Okay, now let me just see that. Okay. Well, I hadn't prepared much because of the time constraints, but I just give a brief introduction to our radio observatory. This is a aerial view of the site with a big dish in the foreground and some other buildings. And what I intend to do is just quickly run through the different telescopes that we have. They're all on one page here. Obviously, our number one instrument is our 25-meter dish. We use it in L-band, both at 1400 and at 1600 megahertz, up to 1700 megahertz. And at the moment, we are trying to do something with an offset or with actually 2 offset antennas in the UHF range. We're just investigating what parts of the UHF spectrum can be used at our site for the radio astronomy. Obviously, there's a lot of RFI there. Then our second largest dish is the 10-meter dish. It's a equatorial mount and a Cassegrain arrangement. It's equipped with receiver for KU band and KA band. And the intention there is to do methanol maser observations and water maser observations. So this is what we are doing specifically with this instrument. The next one here is a 3-meter dish. It's equipped with L-band, so primarily it's intended for hydrogen line observation. It has some, I would say, limited capability for continuum observations, and we can also see a little bit of OH masers, and finally also some pulsars. But really the main purpose of that instrument is doing hydrogen observations, in particular in the context of lab courses for schools. Our latest newcomer actually is this one here, a 2.3-meter dish. It's a refurbished and completely upgraded SRT, the original MIT design, which was mentioned, I think, by Rupert or somebody from the team here. It has completely new electronics, completely new receiving chain. And our intention actually is to combine our 3-meter and the 2.3-meter dish to a interferometer. That's not done yet, still something to do, but that's the ultimate goal, to do continuum observations in L-band with this interferometer. We do have an interferometer, which is depicted down here. The two 1.2-meter dishes forming an KU band interferometer. The dish in between is the only dish we have on our site which is not used for radio astronomy. It's actually for TV reception, so ignore this one. The KU band interferometer is used for continuum observations. It's a transit instrument, so it can only be changed in declination, and we let the sky transit. They're looking due south. And we did a full sky survey, or not a full, but the sky, part of the sky that's visible for these instruments. We did a sky survey of that. And yes, going down in size, there's a 1.2-meter dish, which is mounted on a trailer, as you can see. That's intended for, well, it is used for hydrogen line observations. The reason why it's on the trailer is because we use it to go to schools, and we go there and make a course in hydrogen line observations with the school there. Unfortunately, at the moment, due to the COVID restrictions, that's dormant, but I'm hoping to pick that up again rather sooner than later. So this is our collection of instruments, quite a number of instruments, different sizes. Now, what are we doing with this? First of all, I think this is the worldwide largest radio astronomy site that we are operating. There are different activities. We do cooperate on some scientific programs where we work with universities. doing joint observations and doing specific things for universities. These are things like OH maser, long-term OH maser observations, magnetar observations, and we also have a joint program with the University of Toronto where we do sort of shadow observations with a Geim telescope there. As part of our cooperation with universities, we support master and bachelor thesis. So we have students that work with our data to work on their master thesis. At the moment, we have our 4th master thesis, which is worked on. We do lab courses, which is a lot of fun for various universities and also for schools, where school come to our place. Again, this is dormant at the moment, but the lab courses for universities, we are doing that in an online version via Zoom. That's working reasonably well. One of the things that we like to do is to get the general public interested in the question, what is radio astronomy? Why are you doing science in the first place? So what is the motivation of society to do science? And finally, and I think that's the most important things, we're having lots of fun, and that's the motivation. I mean, keeping such a big collection of instruments alive as amateurs, nobody is paid. We're all doing that voluntarily, and this only works if there's a lot of fun involved, and that I can definitely say that it is a lot of fun. If you're interested to get more information, we have a website. It's not the greatest website of the world, but at least we have some papers there on the background of the observations, a lot of background on hydrogen observations if you're interested in that. And if we continue these Zoom sessions, I'm happy to do one of the next upcoming Zoom sessions actually out of our observatories to show some of the things online, and I'll leave it at that for the moment. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Wolfgang. I've got to the end of my list. Now, have I missed anyone, or has there been anybody join the meeting and missed their slot, as it were? If you could indicate by clicking the reactions button and then one of the icons, the hand icon or the thumb or something, then I can see that you would like to share.
You'll get a crick in your neck.
Yes. Okay. Right. What we can do, in fact, if anybody's got any further comments to make, or in fact a question, then we've got a few minutes. I think I didn't set an end time, but it's 10 to 9 at the moment, so it's not too late.
Unless you're in Germany or Thailand.
Yeah, if you're in Thailand, it's got to be
we're just 1 hour ahead.
Or in Bangkok.
Yeah. It's nearly breakfast time for you. Okay. We've probably all got a huge amount to think about. There are projects and topics for forums and training, etc., that have been suggested tonight. Can I suggest that we post proposals on the RAG bulletin board? I'm quite happy at this stage to try to pull the threads together and coordinate, because just at the moment we've all got a little bit more time on our hands than is the normal case. I was wondering whether we could meet in 2 weeks' time. I'm sure some of you have presentations already to go, in which case you can email me offline or make a or put yourself forward on the bulletin board. If you think that meeting together in 2 weeks' time is a good idea, that's probably worth indicating as well. And then we can just see what the sense of the group is in moving forward. Peter, did you indicate you wanted to say something? Peter Wright.
Yeah, I just put my on the bulletin board. You can put in a tick, which means yes, I agree. So in 2 weeks, having another meeting, be a good idea. Friday is good, so I can sleep after the meeting. But it's good. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment now? Otherwise, I will close the meeting. Okay. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all so much for joining. As I said earlier, I was just amazed in the run up to this with comments that people had made, that it was clear that they were either professionals or extremely experienced. And I think the strength of the group is in is sharing that experience and enabling all of us to learn something from somebody else. So thanks again. It's likely we will get together in a fortnight's time. So watch this space and sleep well. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Paul. Very good.
Right. Cheers, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Great stuff, Paul.
Stay safe.